I have had a great time in watching my coworkers troubleshoot. And out of the 3 people that did troubleshooting for us, which included Jeff and Knox and Bart, they all had different levels of experiences and they all had different styles and different methods. It's fascinating to watch people troubleshoot. The more you practice with the commands, the better you're going to be at troubleshooting. So what we're going to do is we're going to leverage the commands that we've been learning up to this point. Show commands regarding routing, and show commands regarding layer 2, and show commands regarding IP address information and interfaces. And for this lab, what I'd like to do is introduce the problem, and then I'd like my turn, if you don't mind, to play with you in this sandbox. So let's look at the topology, and then I'll have you pause it. And then after you've paused and done the lab yourself, I want you to click on resume or hit play again, and then you can join me as we do the walkthrough together regarding identifying the problem, some of the commands I would use as we resolve this network troubleshooting issue. Let's take a look at the topology. So here is the topology. It hasn't changed much. IP address information over here. Here's our Windows 10 computer up in VLAN 10. And the goal, or the problem that's being portrayed in this lab, is that this PC cannot ping any of the computers here in Nevada. And our objective is to go ahead and solve it. So what I invite you to do right here is to go ahead and pause right here, click on the link for the virtual labs at cbtnuggets.com, work through the troubleshooting exercise, and then when you're done, let's go ahead and click on resume and we'll walk through it together. All right, time to go through the walkthrough. Now, the first thing that I would do in this network is I would draw out or have written out or printed out the basic topology of what I'm working with. And that way, as I'm using the keyboard and looking at the interface, I can access the topology diagram also. So whether it's on paper or it's on another window, make sure you have access to something like that so you can do that much better at troubleshooting. Also, what I've done is I've written down in my notes the basic information about this lab, including what the IP addresses are that cannot be reached, what the IP address is of the Windows 10 computer, and I just take it step by step. So if the problem is being portrayed that the Arizona Windows 10 computer can't ping a device, a PC out in Nevada, the first thing we'd want to do is verify that. So that's going to be my first step as well. Let's go to the Windows 10 computer in Arizona and verify that we cannot ping one of those addresses. So here in the lab environment, I'm going to click on the client PC to bring up that virtual machine. And let's go ahead and bring up a command prompt. So I'm going to bring up a command prompt here and look at my notes. Nevada PC1 is at the IP address of 10.16.8.101. So I'm going to do a ping to 10.16.8.101. Press enter. Okay, great, not reachable. The other thing I might do, also because I have access, is I'm going to go back to our management computer, DCNUG, and just go to Nevada PC1 and just verify its IP address. So its IP address is 10.16.8.101, and that is the IP address I'm trying to reach, and its default gateway is 10.16.8.6. And you know what, while I'm here, I just want to make sure that this PC can ping its default gateway. So we'll do a ping of, in fact, I'm just going to highlight that default gateway and right click and paste it in. So this PC has basic network ability. It can talk to its default gateway. Let's go back to our client PC where we're trying to ping that device, and let's start troubleshooting. So the first thing that we could do is we could say, well, what is our IP address? With IP config, press enter, and our IP address is 10.16.0.10, and our default okay, so here's our default gateway of 10.16.0.5, and let's look at our topology diagram. So in our topology here, this PC at 10.16.0.10, it has a default gateway of .5, and if we look here on VLAN 10, right here, for the 10.16.0 network, core 1, this guy, and core 2, this one, have the IP address of .1 and .2. Now, if there was an FHRP, a first hop redundancy protocol running, perhaps they're supporting the IP address of .5, but for the sake of the information we have here and what it appears is incorrect, I would say that this PC has the absolute incorrect default gateway. So let's pick core 1 as the default gateway and change the default gateway on this client PC to be .1. That's what I'm going to do as our very next step. So if we go back to our PC, and also I guess right here too, we could also do a ping to 10.16.0.5, the proposed default gateway, and yeah, it's not flying. I'm going to do a Control-C so I don't have to wait for that. And let's go to our configuration utilities in Windows. Now, Windows version 7, version 8, version 10, and on. There's slightly different ways of modifying the network interface, but whatever version you're on, you'd want to go to that portion of your Windows computer. I'm just going to go to Network Connections with the right mouse click on the Windows icon, right click here on this network interface of 10.16.0, click on Properties, and simply change the IP address by double clicking here on IPv4, and then changing the default gateway to .1, which is the IP address of the switched virtual interface on Core 1 that's supporting VLAN 10. So we'll click on OK, OK, and go back to our command line. First of all, let's verify with ipconfig that it changed. It's always good to verify. And then let's do a ping to that IP address 10.16.0.1, our default gateway. All right, that looks great. So we can talk to our default gateway. Let's go ahead and hit the up arrow key a few times, and let's try to ping all the way to 10.16.8.101. Looking at my notes, that is the IP address of Nevada PC1, and survey says, all right, it's not happening. So let's do this next. Let's verify. We can ping our default gateway. Let's do a trace RT, because we're on a Windows computer, space -D, which says don't bother doing a DNS resolution. We talked about that in some of Jeremy's training many videos ago. And then let's go ahead and put in the IP address of 10.16.8.101. Press enter. And okay, so this is showing us our path through the network. So 10.16.0.1 is our default gateway. That's Core 1. 10.16.6.5. Let's see who owns that IP address. Let's go back to our topology. So 10.16.6.5, that is router 1. So that's the interface right here. So our packet is making it all the way from the first hop, Core 1, and it's also making it to router 1. So I would say our path, at least going this direction, is solid between us and router 1, but it didn't go any further than that. Let's go back to the interface and verify that. And sure enough, it is timing out right there. Look at that. We are done right there. So I'm going to do a Control-C. Oh, there we go. Finally got a timeout. I'm going to do a Control-C a couple times to stop that trace. Fantastic. And I would say that the problem is somewhere between the Arizona router, R1, which is at the address 10.16.6.5 and further. So what we can do is we can make a road trip down to that device. So back to our management computer, DC NUG. We'll go to router 1. And on the router 1, let's do a ping. And let's ping that IP address of the Nevada PC1, 10.16.8.101. Yeah, well, there's your problem right there. It's really tough for a client like Bob, sitting at a PC in Arizona, to reach a Nevada PC if one of the routers in that path can't get there itself. So in this case, router 1 is not able to ping that Nevada PC1. And now we're going to investigate why is that. Is it a layer 2 issue? Is it a layer 3 issue? Let's investigate. So here on router 1, if we do a show IP route, and okay, so there's just a lot of output here. What we could do is do a show IP route, and let's just narrow it down to the 10 networks by doing a show IP route and then 10.0.0.0, and that'll just show us the routes for the 10 networks. And what we're looking for is the networks out in Nevada. So if we look at our topology again, so if we look here at Nevada, Nevada's addresses are right here. So 10.16.8 and 10.16.9 are the two subnets that are involved. So if we look at router 1 and focus on those networks just to make sure we have routing information regarding how to reach those networks, that would be a good start. So let's take a closer look at router 1. So here in router 1, I'm going to highlight and use the Alt key and just highlight these routes right here. So we've got the 10.16.8 and 10.16.9. Fantastic. So we have some static routes and some OSPF learned routes. And if we're doing a ping out to the Nevada PC1, which is at 10.16.8.101, the question would be, which of these routes would be chosen for that? And so it wouldn't be this one, because that's a 9 in that third octet. But it could be any of these three, because the first 21 bits and the first 24 bits and the first 25 bits all would match with this destination IP address. So in that case, it's going to be the longest match that wins, which would mean it's this guy right here. So this route for 10.16.8.0 with a 25-bit mask is using a next hop of 192.168.1.7, which if I'm not mistaken, isn't even in our topology. So if we go back to our topology diagram here, and we take a look at R1, I don't see any 192 anythings. So on R1 here, if we want to reach or forward packets to PC1, which is on the 10.16.8 network, the direction should be this. So the next hop over Metro Ethernet should be 10.16.7.6. That should be the next hop, not some 192.168 address. So I'm thinking that route is in error. That's a bad static route that's pointing to the wrong next hop when it should be pointing to 10.16.7.6. And that's why when the user is trying to send a packet, it's going down here to router 1, and instead of going over to router 2 as the next hop, it's being sent to that next hop that starts with 192 something. So back here on router 1, let's do a show IP interface brief. Oh, check this out. Okay, so it is directly connected to the 192.168.1 network, and so when it uses the next hop of 192.168.1.7, that may be a valid address that it can reach, but it's certainly not the right direction for routing purposes to get to the 10.16.8 network. So because this is a static route, we could just remove that route, and then it would fall back and start using this route, which is learned via OSPF. So let's go into configuration mode, and we'll simply say no. No to the IP route that's going to, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy the first part of this, 10.16.8.0. Click and drag across that, then right click, and then put in the correct mask in dotted decimal, 255.255.255.128. That's a 25-bit mask. And it says the next hop is this, so I'm going to put in that as well. Although I think I could just remove that even without the next hop. I think it'll get rid of it for me. So let's verify that. Let's do a show IP route 410 and verify that we lost the 25-bit route, and we did. So we just have this route that's left. So now let's try a ping. I'll hit the up arrow key a few times. We'll do a ping out to 10.16.8.101. Ah, great, that's working. Fantastic. So now let's go back to our client in the Arizona network, and let's try a full ping from that client. So here at the client, let's go ahead and do a ping to 10.16.8.101. And that is working. And if we do a trace RT again with the -D for not bothering doing name resolution to that same IP address, it'll show us the whole path. So it's core 1, it's router 1, then router 2, and then finally reaching the Nevada PC1 at its IP address. So thanks for letting me join you in this walkthrough of the solution for this lab. Now, if you went through the troubleshooting labs and then you went through the walkthroughs, you know what the problems are. If you want to do these again, here's a great tip. Wait 3 weeks. Just go to your calendar, say in 3 weeks, come back and do these labs and do them again, because you may not remember all the details for which lab had which, and it'll be a great opportunity to rehearse and practice your troubleshooting skills once again by remembering the show commands, verifying the interfaces, the IP addresses, the routes, the layer 2, or whatever the problem is as you troubleshoot the IP networks. So thanks again for letting me be your tour guide for this walkthrough, and I'll see you, my friend, in the next video. Meanwhile, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.